Hey, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Circus, and we are back after our priming video. We got our next tutorial for you for actually airbrushing your miniatures. So we take it to the next step. After you prime your miniatures, you can use the airbrush to get a base coat on your miniatures. So in this video, I'm using the Badger Patriot 105. It's a great entry-level airbrush that you can use, and I'll show you my basic compressor too as well. Nothing too expensive. It isn't something that you would use for fine detail, but just for base coating for me. This is an awesome entry-level airbrush. Check it out if you guys have not. And in this video, I'm actually going to show you those chain rasps that I used in the last video to prime. I'll show you the finished result of these guys right here. And so we'll talk about a little bit of my technique and how I got them painted. And also show you the technique from transitioning from the green to the purple. So stay tuned in this video. I'll show you guys all the details on how to use the airbrush. Pretty easy stuff, easy to get your army done very quickly, so that way you can do all the fine details later with the brush. Also, I got a special announcement. Go ahead and stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to be talking about my giveaway that I have coming out. If you guys go ahead and leave a like and sub, and actually type that you subbed at the bottom in the comments, I will enter you in a hat for a drawing to get 5 Seraphon models. So if you play Seraphon, or if you're trying to get into AOS and you actually started Seraphon, or you just like Seraphon models, I got 5 models that are coming to you. All you have to do is sub at the bottom and leave a like on my channel, and I will enter you into the drawing, so that way May 25th you'll have 5 miniatures sent to you. I'll send you a private IM, get your email, and we'll get those sent out for you. So without further ado, guys, let's head on over to the workbench and see how I got these done. Let's go. All right guys, we're over at the workbench now. The first item I'm going to talk about is the cleaning pot. This is a $15.99 investment. It's pretty awesome. You just use this pot to dump out the excess paint that you have. You just put your airbrush in there and spray it inside this canister, and it gets rid of the excess paint. Then we're going to talk about the flow improver and the thinner and the airbrush cleaner. These are great products that I use to thin my paints and also clean the paints. Turn on the airbrush. And this is going to be the pressure regulator. This is used to set your PSI level, so whenever you need low pressure or high pressure, you would just pull this black cap up, and then you would adjust the PSI that you need for your airbrush. I'll explain this more in detail in another tutorial. This is the PSI meter here. This shows how much meter you have for PSI. This is going to be your Teflon tape. I use this Teflon tape to wrap up my airbrush to make sure there's no air that's seeping out of the bottom. You want to make sure you get some of this and wrap it a good 2 or 3 times to make sure the air is nice and solid, so that way you do have a true PSI level whenever you're shooting your airbrush. The tape I wrap on the bottom right here. This is the fine needle. I usually take some water and I just send the fine needle through there to make sure there's no clogged paint. And this is a diagram of the pieces that we will be talking about with the airbrush. Next, we got the quick release valve and the disconnect coupler. This is awesome. This is a little piece that you can buy with your braided hose and attach it to there, so that way you can adjust the pressure coming out of your airbrush, make it more or less with just the turn of that wheel there. And this snaps on into place and it's ready to go. This little piece that we have here is going to be the medium or fine tip. You can actually get different sizes of this, and this will control how big or how small your sprays are that come out of the tip of your airbrush. This is the head cap, and this piece goes right into the head cap and it screws onto the airbrush like so. Then just send the needle through the back here, make sure there's no excess paint, and hit the screw on the back. Don't tighten it too much, just ever so slightly, and then you're gonna snap the bottom braided cord on the bottom, and then you're ready to start shooting. This here has a loose trigger, so we're gonna have to fix that. Sometimes your trigger will be loose, and actually the back lever that's next to the trigger actually won't let you have any feedback on there. So what you have to do is take the tube shank and actually loosen that up and make sure that your needle is going in there, and that when you pull it back, it goes forward immediately. That is very important that you make sure you check that out. And I think we're good to go. Now it's time to get ready. We got us some cheap ass paint. Let's get cracking. This is just an example of what my color scheme will look like on my army. This is my black coach that I painted beforehand. So this is my paint scheme that I have right now with the green and purple. My chain rasp will look similar to this. Let's go ahead and start pouring some of your paint into the pot. I use a stainless steel cup there, so it's easy to clean, and then I put some airbrush thinner inside of the paint. Or you can use the flow improver. I tend to use the thinner more than the improver. So you want to keep pouring a couple drops in there until it gets very thin. And you want to take something like a popsicle stick and make sure you stir it around until you get the consistency of milk. It's going to be very thin, and you just run it upside the side of the cup to see how thin it is before you put it into the airbrush. If it's still too thick, just add a few more drops, mix it a little bit more, and it'll start to get nice and even. Put on your gloves. Pour it in your airbrush. Don't fill it up to the top. I usually fill it up halfway, so that way you don't get any clogs. Now we're ready to paint. Always do a test spray before you go to spray your model. Oops, looks like we got some problems here. We got blockage. So sometimes when you go to spray, you'll see bubbles coming up out of the other end when you go to spray instead of the paint coming out of the nozzle. You want to grab a toothpick or something like a Q-tip and dip it in some of your airbrush cleaner and clear the tip. Make sure there's no paint on the front where the needle is. Because if there is, sometimes that paint will dry on the tip and it'll make it hard for the paint to come out. You want to clear that out. Now that we got the tip clear, we're going to go ahead and try to apply the paint. So it looks like the paint's coming out pretty fast. Sometimes it will do that and just come out very thick, and you may have to adjust the valve to make it lower pressure if you don't want that much paint coming out. In this example, I'm actually painting thick coats on because I want to cover the entire miniature with the green. So we cover the entire surface. Make sure we check the bottom to make sure that's all painted, and head on to the next one. Sometimes your paint will come out and it'll be splotchy and you'll see little paint splashes. That's okay. Just spray over it and keep moving. Now we're going to show you how to do the technique that I love, the back flush technique. You want to dump the paint out and get a little bit of water and cleaner in there, and then you just hold your finger over the tip and pull the trigger back. That will cause the paint to come out of the top, and you'll see bubbles coming out. It'll get a little messy. You just wipe it off with a cloth, and just that'll clear all the paint out of there, so that way when you go to put the new paint in there, it'll be nice, even flow. So you want to put some water in there and also spray it too as well to get all the extra paint out of there. Make sure it's clean like this before you start. And we're ready to go. Now we're going to apply the purple. This will be on the ethereal parts of the cloak on the bottoms of the chain rasp. You'll see me spraying my fingers a lot just because I'm trying not to get the upper parts of the model, just the bottom, and wasting a lot of paint on the bottom, but that's okay. So you just gradually do a build up from the bottom of the miniature all the way to about halfway. slightly pulling the trigger back and not going too crazy. And once it looks nice and even all the way around, you just head on to the next one. Gradually build up that color to make sure that it blends really nice and it's even. Then you want to let those dry, and then after these get done, you can go to painting all of the fine details on the miniature after you get done base coating these two colors on the miniature. You can batch paint with this and get a lot of miniatures done all at one time. It's really effective. All right, guys, so that is it. You guys see the process that I use to get these airbrushed. It's very simple, very straightforward. Go ahead and check out the Badger Patriot 105 if you have not, and get yourself a compressor. It is really awesome, super easy. I love these chain wraps because the ghosts seem to be kind of made for the airbrush. So definitely check that out. If you're used to just using a brush and painting, the airbrush takes it to the next level. So you guys saw in this tutorial how I use the airbrush, some of the techniques, how far or close I should get with it, what chemicals I use to actually clean out the paint out of the airbrush and things like that, because cleaning your airbrush is very important, and just the steps that I take to get the miniatures ready to do the fine detailing later. So you can do batch painting, you can paint a bunch of miniatures all at one time super quickly and get them ready for the tabletop. So as I said before, go ahead and leave a sub on the page and a like, and type down below that you had subbed. And like I said, I'll enter your name in for the drawing for May 25th for you to get your Seraphon miniatures. That's 5 Seraphon miniatures. Just go ahead and like and sub on the page. And like I said, I will announce that winner on the 25th. I will actually send it out to you and you can get started with your Seraphon army. So like always, guys, happy wargaming. Thank you for watching the video, and I appreciate all the love and support. You guys have a good one. Peace.
Turn it up as loud as possible so you can hear it. Being yourself in a world of fake, so many fear it. It's kinda sad when you listen to these phony motherfuckers.